Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to the new video. I'm the Casual Racing Gamer, and today we will be talking about PSVR2 VR headsets for sim racing. And all my videos in the past have always focused on all the positives, how much I love about VR headsets, sim racing, always recommending it. But one thing I've never touched upon is maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe there's some things that if you haven't used a VR headset before, that might not be right for you. So I figured let's touch upon that. Do I have any frustrations with VR headsets and sim racing? Do I think that there's things out there that stand out that might not, that might turn people off from it? So I figured let's touch upon it. Let's have a conversation. Definitely leave comments below on your opinions on things I say if you have anything to add to what I have to say. But first I want to say something funny here. I want to go back in time here. I'm going to go back to about maybe like 10, 15 years ago when 3D was the thing, right? 3D was huge. All TVs were coming out with 3D. All movies were coming out with 3D. And then, we have these little glasses on here, and I still have a 3D TV, by the way. I actually love 3D. I thought it was a great concept. But people didn't want to wear 3D glasses in their home because it wasn't natural to just put on glasses to watch something. So I think it's pretty funny that we went from these light 3D glasses that people didn't want to wear in their home to basically putting on this huge monster on your head, right? So we went from this little thing right here to this huge thing right here, basically like a big box on our head, right? So now we don't just wear glasses, but we basically take ourselves out of any conversation or any interaction with anyone around us, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But I just thought that was pretty funny, right? I love 3D, but people didn't want to wear 3D glasses, so 3D kind of just died away. But now we have VR headsets. But before we even get to that, let's touch upon it. And again, this is just for sim racing. I'm not talking about using VR for any other gaming outside of sim racing. I'm going to be mostly touching on points about PSVR2, but a lot of these points can also be used for any other VR headset, because I do race in PC VR with the Quest 2 and a Rift S. So some things might be specific to PSVR2, some things just might be specific to just general for VR headsets. So first thing is, if you've never used a VR headset for sim racing, make sure you buy it from somewhere that you can return it. This is my big thing here. The video is going to be about, is VR for everybody, right? Is it for everyone? Can I recommend it for everyone? Go out and buy it and you're going to love it and you're going to be happy. And that's what all my past videos have been about. But VR is a big thing with making people dizzy. Now, 3D still makes some people dizzy. And I think VR even worse, because you're immersed in something there, where 3D, at least you still have everything you still see your world outside of you, where in a headset, it's way different, and the frames are way different as far as, difference than watching like a 3D movie. So make sure you're buying it from somewhere you have a 30-day, at least a 30-day return policy, because if you get dizzy, immediately stop playing VR, right? Immediately stop. Then you want to do what people say work. And luckily for me, I've never had an issue with getting dizzy or nauseous in VR. But if you start feeling dizzy, sick, or anything, stop immediately. Give yourself a break. Don't come back to it too soon. Then do small increments of gaming. They usually say like 5-10 minutes. Stop 5-10 minutes, stop 5-10 minutes, give yourself a nice break, then push it a little bit longer, 15. Are you getting sick? As soon as you start getting sick, stop, and then come back to it at a later time, and don't keep pushing. They basically say you can slowly work yourself up to get VR legs. Again, I haven't had that issue, so I can't vouch for it, but there's so many people that say it's worked for them, and I'm going to say it probably doesn't work for everybody, but that's going to be your best shot. People have different things of saying, make sure like you eat well, make sure that like ginger, like different like medicine, like nausea medicines like people take for like rides and stuff that you go on. There's a lot of different things. So if you get dizzy, there's different ways. But the thing is, you want to make sure you can return your headset. You don't want to get stuck with something that you spend all this money for and then you can't use it. So that's going to be the number one issue why VR is not for everybody. I don't think everybody can get over that nauseousness if it doesn't work for them initially. Some people yes, some people no. So that's just the first thing. Now another thing, and when I'm saying with PSVR2 and GT7, now obviously GT7 has issues, and I've spoke about this in the past, but this isn't a specific about a VR headset issue, as more that it is the game, where like their VR interface, their HUD, it's missing things. You don't see other cars, you don't see other timings of other cars. There's just different things that they can fix in the game, right? So that's just in the game. To me, it doesn't affect me not playing in VR, where other people might not want to play in VR because of that, but that's the specific game of GT7. I'm more basically focusing this on the actual, is VR good for you? Like if GT7 fixed all these things even. So the next thing with PSVR2 is, and this is probably my worst part about PSVR2. When I'm sim racing and I'm in a session, I can go like 3 hours and race with no problem. The issue now is you get really hot, right? It gets really hot in this headset. Not like if you do like a small session, but 3 hours. If I'm in there for like 2-3 hours, I'm like hot. I'm like sweating. And I basically have to just know that I have time to take a shower, because that's what happens after racing in 3 hours. Now you can have a fan set up, and because I always move my rig to another spot when I'm racing, I put it off to the side when I'm not. It is already too much for me to set up. So I have to set up my stand. I have to plug everything in. I have to get my VR headset. I have to plug that in. I have to set up my seat. So there's a lot involved. I don't want to have to then bring in a fan and then just all this stuff set up, then break it down. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So that's one thing, is you get really hot in VR because you have this big thing on your head. And how can you combat that? Well, I combated it a little bit. And this is going to be touching on the next point, where for me, PSVR2 is not the most comfortable headset. Yes, I know how to wear it. I know how to adjust it. I've moved it around in all different places. And depending on how long you're playing, it can really start digging into your forehead and even over here in top of your head. And I've gotten like major marks on my head after taking off the headset for like a couple hours that mark will actually stay there for a couple hours. After playing for a couple hours, it can be 2 hours, and I still had a line on my head. And I was like, yo, this is not good. Because if I want to just play like a session for like an hour and then go out, I had this huge line on my head. And that could be a problem for people. Also, like your hair, it definitely puts like a big dent in your hair. So you might have to wash your hair when you're done, because you have like this big line in your hair. Then part of it's like sticking up, part of it's sticking down, depending on what kind of hair you have. These are just little things that I'm mentioning, but it could have an impact on your life or when you want to play, or you might be going out in a half hour. So you're going to say, oh, I don't want to play in VR because then I'm going to have a line on my head or this and that. So, well, how did I combat that to be a little better, where now I might have some sort of line there, but it goes away pretty quickly? Let me show you. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. So I bought these headbands. So these headbands definitely work. I got them from Amazon. It was like a pack of 6. So basically you put it on your head, and then you can actually open up the front of these pretty wide. So it covers like, it basically covers like that whole, like, whoa, I can't see you. It basically covers like, yeah, I'll just quickly just throw that on like that. So you basically just can throw it on here and, cover your whole head and put your VR headset in. So now what this is doing is, the only mark you really get from this is just the little mark from the actual headband itself. And it goes away pretty quick. Like when I got with the mark from the PSVR2 headset, like my head got indented from that thing after a couple hours. It was like insane. I couldn't go out without a hat on because I had this huge mark. So this definitely combats that. It definitely helps with the mark on your head, and it actually makes it a little more comfortable, because after a couple hours, I thought that PSVR2 was really uncomfortable because it just kind of dug into you. So this definitely helps with the pain, and it also helps with the mark on your head. So don't let that discourage you. If you're having marks on your head or things like that, definitely pick up some headbands, and they'll definitely help you out. So what else? But that's still a problem. It might help with a little more sweat, but like after being in that thing for hours, you're still just I don't know. It really makes you hot. So showering in that time, and you might want to consider that. Just saying. What else is wrong with PSVR2? Well, or VR in general, is you have a family. You want to hang out with your family. Everyone's hanging out together. Once you put that headset on, you're basically removing yourself from anyone around you. You're not going to be communicating with anybody. You're basically in your own world. You're so if you want to hang out with your family and just sometimes if you're just racing or playing a game on a screen, you can still talk. You can still be communicative with other people in the room with you. When you're playing in VR, you're basically you're disappearing from them. You're not gonna have a conversation with people. You're not gonna you're not going to feel like you're part of the conversation, part of the room anymore. So you're really siloing yourself from everybody. So that could be a thing with families and things like that. If you're going to race in VR, you basically have to say, see you when I'm done. If I'm racing for an hour, I'll see you in an hour. You wouldn't be like, come hang out with me while I race. That you're really not going to be hanging out with you. You're in your own world, right? You're very immersed in racing. Another thing is, and this is just a weird thing, if you're like in a room by yourself and you think it's like quiet and no one's around, and you're really immersed in a race, and someone comes in and just like decides to speak to you, I've gotten scared out of my pants so many times when, especially if I'm like racing late at night and someone just comes up to me and starts talking. I literally just jump. It scares the heck out of me. So it's not a reason not to race in VR, but I know it's happened to me so many times where I've just jumped and got scared out of my mind because I'm just immersed in a race and I think no one's around me, and it's just like I hear engines roaring and then someone just starts speaking to me and it literally just makes me like jump out of my pants. So I'm curious if that's ever happened to you guys. Let me know. Leave a comment below. So another thing, because you have this VR headset on and you're so immersed and you're in the racing, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very intense. So when you're racing on a screen, the intensity is not the same because you're not immersed in the world and you don't feel like you're there. So when you're putting on a VR headset, the intensity level is going to be way different. You're going to actually feel like you're in a car. When you're going side by side by someone, or there's a car right in front of you, the intensity level and your heart rate might go up because you actually feel like you're racing. Now the danger's not there, right? You know, if you hit someone, you're going to be fine. You're not going to like break your leg or something. But the intensity of feeling like you're actually there is like 100 times different than if you're racing on a screen. So if you're someone who doesn't like intensity levels like that, so the intensity level is there. So if you're not someone who likes that intensity level, it might not be for you. You might not enjoy the racing as much because it might be a little stressful feeling. But that's something that I actually love. And this is for live racing. You know, the intensity is not really going to be there for AI racing because I think it's just a different level of intensity when you're racing other live players. But that's something I actually enjoy. I like when it gets my heart rate pumping and it actually feels like something's on the line. That's something I actually love about VR, but it can be something that can be looked at as negative to some people that might not enjoy the experience. Also, if you're someone into like a lot of equipment, if you love your steering wheel and you want to get like LCD screens on it and you want to see your RPMs on your screen, I don't know if people really think about this when they go and buy a steering wheel, and if they're using VR, you're not going to see any of that, right? You're going to be in VR, so you can have the coolest looking steering wheel with the coolest LCD screen that has all your information on that LCD screen that you can possibly imagine, and then you put your VR headset on and you're never going to see it. So don't spend $400 or $500 on a wheel because it has an LCD screen or it has some kind of digital things that you want to see or things like that, or it has like a revving thing on top with LCD lights and stuff like that. You're not going to see any of it. So don't spend the extra money for that stuff. In VR, the only thing you're going to see is what's in your headset. So it doesn't even matter what your wheel looks like or what anything actually looks like outside. You just want to be comfortable. You just want it to feel good in your hand. If you're someone that wants all this special equipment and you want to have all this all these screens set up and things you want to see and all these readings and all of that stuff, you're not going to see any of it. So if you're someone that wants to do that, VR is not for you because you're not going to be able to appreciate all that stuff. You're not going to see any of it. So that was just another thing I wanted to throw out there. Me as a content creator, something that affects me with racing in VR and recording is there's many times where I've forgotten to plug in my actual microphone cord. I've forgotten to hit record on my video camera. That affects me, and I don't know until I take my VR headset off and I look and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have no cord in my microphone. So as a content creator, and if you're a content creator, those are things you definitely want to think about while you're recording. Make sure you hit record on everything. Make sure you see that all your stuff is in and it's working before you put your VR headset on, because once you do that, you can't just stop yourself like after 30 seconds and realize that you didn't plug anything in, and then 30 minutes later after your recording's done, you're like, holy cow, none of that came out. So that's also something to think about. So I think those are my points. Again, I just wanted to touch on some things that why VR might not be for everybody, but for me, it's 100% the greatest thing with sim racing. It is the most immersive experience you can possibly have, I think, in a game. And I think sim racing and I think VR headsets are made for sim racing. The replay value will never end. When you play other VR games, you beat a game, it's over, you're done, you'll put it on the shelf. Racing games have a replay value where you can play every single day, never get sick of it. Everything is different every single day because racing is just changes every single day. So there's such an advantage to using a VR headset for sim racing where it has a great replay value. I think that really makes a VR headset worth it for sim racing. But that was all. I just wanted to touch on some things that I'm always talking about, all the positives and things I love about VR headsets. But I just thought maybe I'd touch upon some things that might be a little annoyance to people, things that might annoy me at sometimes. And for me, it doesn't change anything. VR is the way to go. Let me know your opinion in the comments below. If you use VR, if you've tried VR and then you don't use VR anymore, just anything. Let me know. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Thumb up the video, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys. We out of here. Peace.